back by popular, politely asking
Demand.
It's Pile It On.
Welcome to
Pile
It
It
On, the podcast in which I myself, Grace Helvig, and my cohort and boyfriend, Elliott Morgan, talk about things that we have absorbed in the media realm, mostly via television, but not...
And we took a break. From the podcast. We're not on a break. But we didn't know what to talk about for a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, the world is a wild place right now, and so we have done our due diligence of taking a step back and observing and learning and listening.
And it's been lovely. Grace
It's
was
been
also...
lovely. It's been very overwhelming.
It's wonderful. It's paradigm shifting. It's educational. It's humbling. But Grace was also just a guest on the Valleycast. Thank you for doing that, Grace.
Thank you for having me. And we got to answer questions, give advice, all sorts of things. There was a structure to that podcast that you will see is showcased in the flow of it. This, not so much structure.
No structure. No idea what we're talking about. No idea where to begin. Queer Eye, Survivor. These are all of our...
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of... We've been watching a lot of things. We've been absorbing a lot of things. We've been... I for myself, I've been in the background, just listening and watching, and then the respite from the serious listening and watching has been things like Queer Eye, things like RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, things like
What We Do in the Shadows. Can we talk about What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh, I mean,
Guillermo,
get it out of the shadows, shine some light on it. It is wonderful.
Careful. You're gonna hurt it if you do that.
I know, that's the thing. It's a delicate.
That show is
so good.
It's a little beacon of beauty and light.
It's really so good. It's artistically so cool. It's shot so cool, and there's such a level of humility to it. I know I said this a lot on the Valley Folk podcast, but there is a level of, when you really take in that show, how wonderfully it's shot and how well acted it is, that you're like, do people know about this?
I know.
I want more people to be talking about how great this show is.
Yeah, and then what's his name pops up at the end from Flight of the Conchords? What's his name? Not Taika Waititi, the other guy. They're both executive producers. Jermaine Clement or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The original pops up at the end of the season just like he did last season. Oh, spoilers. It's wonderful.
It's great.
Guys, what?
There's a lot going on.
So much going on.
I mean, we don't have to pile it on because it's already been piled.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, before we started recording this, I was like, okay, let's do it. We're going to make it fun. We're going to make it entertaining. Let's wear crazy clothes. And Grace said, I'm going to put on a different shirt. And then... and
I did.
What, can you explain this?
This is Hannah Hart in her college years. These are the shirts that Mamie and I made when we celebrated her 30th birthday. We ironed on these images of her playing what looks like Guitar Hero in her college UC Berkeley dorm.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And it's just a very pure expression of joy.
I for sure thought she was 8 years old in that.
No, she's probably 18. And then you also put on a fun outfit, a plaid shirt, a plaid button down over a white t-shirt.
Listen, I'm not trying to whatever, but I didn't know that this shirt had been in the Valley Folk office for 6 months, and I'm excited to, for real. I'm excited to have it, but I don't, it's,
you look like a casual MSNBC reporter.
Yeah, just here. Where's papers?
Reporting on the ground, and you can trust me because I'm like you.
Relatable.
Grace,
what have we been actually doing for fun? Why don't we talk about fun stuff?
Yeah.
What are we doing for fun?
Right, okay. Because we've
been doing some fun stuff.
We've been doing some fun things, because here's the dichotomy of everything that's happening right now is that we have an undying urge to participate in the seriousness and the gravitas that's happening in the world, but at the same time we created this podcast as a simple, fun, joyful place for us to talk about things that don't have major repercussions on society as a whole. And so,
but when everything we're watching does have societal repercussions,
we're trying to find the balance. And so there is a dedication between us to creating a space of joy and silly, dumb conversation. So don't want it to get mixed message that we are ignoring what is happening in the world.
I think
instead, I know, but I just have to over-explain.
Yeah.
I got to say it for myself, too, so I believe it.
This is what we're talking about, how language means so many things.
Oh, yeah, we got into a big psychological conversation about the limiting abilities of language last night, and that's where we're at.
I mean, it sounds like we're having conversations that, like, we get so deep in them sometimes that it's like
it's masturbatory. It's like literally us just flexing brain muscles at each other that it's stupid. Anyway.
Sometimes it's stupid, but it's nice to be able to do that because we were talking last night and I was like, if I didn't have somebody to just vomit my thoughts about this out, I don't know what I would do. It'd probably be somebody who like makes posts on the internet or something.
Yeah, I might
That's
take
terrifying.
Thank God I have you because I might take to Twitter otherwise. And I need to get it out to you, and then I have no need to actually get any sense of superficial validation from a social media platform.
I gotta doing fine.
Oh no, I'm doing okay, but also I am newly obsessed with this tweet from Trump about him walking down this ramp that I do think we should talk about a little bit after we talk about the fun stuff that we've been watching.
Well, now if you want to bring up talking about Trump and you want to pretend like I'm not immediately going to be wanting to do that and not talk about whatever else.
All right, let's get into this tweet. Okay, so in the unending...
I didn't know she was bringing this up, by the way. I didn't know this was part of the...
Well, I took Goose on a W and I just got obsessed with this. And I'm just so curious to like break it down a little bit. I do not follow Donald Trump on Twitter because I enjoy... joy on my timeline where I can find it. Yeah. But
you can find it within.
So 17 hours ago, as of right now,
as of this screenshot
that I took a couple hours ago. Well, I saw that everyone, he was born years ago.
It's a birthday.
He's 74 years old.
Wow.
He's an old man.
Well, he looks great. That's not such an easy low-hanging fruit.
Well, that's what this is all about. This is all about that he went to the West Point. He did a commencement speech, and then as he's exiting down this ramp, I watched the video. He's struggling. There's no way around it.
Well, let's read the tweet first.
And so, I saw this tweet, and I was like, why is he so fixated on something? And the tweet is... from the President of the United States. The ramp that I descended after my West Point commencement speech was very long and steep, had no handrail, and most importantly, was very slippery. The last thing I was going to do is, quote, fall for the fake news to have fun with. Final 10 feet, I ran down to level ground. Momentum, exclamation point. I mean,
well, let's dissect
this is the President of the United States is tweeting a cover up for his physicality before people can pick it apart. But the irony is that he's asking for people to pick him apart on this now. He's broadcasting this blanketed cover up for his physicality and it's begging people to investigate it. I would never have known that he struggled to walk down a ramp had he himself not tweeted so much the covering up of his inability to walk down a ramp.
I wouldn't have cared. I read that tweet and I was like, well, I have to see this video.
Right,
I have
exactly.
to see what you're explaining yourself for.
Do you want to see this video?
I've seen the video. Yeah, I thought it was fine. I didn't even think he needed to say anything.
I mean, he is struggling. He is very much struggling. But
he grabs it. Weird? The weirdest part was when did you see how he grabbed the water bottle? He did that weird thing that he does sometimes. He grabbed the water bottle.
What weird thing that he does? He grabs lots of things really weird and inappropriately.
And he goes like this, and he holds it, and he like grabs the bottom up. And then puts the water down.
That's a psychopath.
And then he hobbles off. But I thought the video, if he had not tweeted that.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have cared.
President of the United States.
Oh, he gives a little gift.
I'm obsessed with it because it's so...
Momentum.
It's a little...
Momentum.
Okay, our president is not an athlete. Let's call a spade a spade. This man is he plays golf, which I guess is a sport, but this you could consider, sitting a sport at that
I get
point.
it. It's not a sport that people go like, you're not going to be in.
No, he doesn't need to have
It's a sport of skill, not a sport of necessary athleticism as a whole.
He is not an athlete. Okay. And the idea that people will pick him apart for not being able to walk down a ramp, which he's not good at the walking down of the ramp situation.
Nor is he good at a lot of like standing and like he kind of has
any physicality. He is not a physical. He is not like a. I don't. I'd pay. No, I wouldn't. If this man took a voice and movement class to get in his body the way actors do.
There's a certain, I don't like seeing people just make fun of the way Donald Trump looks or walks or talks or speaks. But I do think though it's important to note that everything he does is very insecure, and he also is so everything is so strange. Like the hair is weird. The walking down the ramp is weird. The grabbing the water bottle is weird. Standing, talking to reporters, he looks like his knees bend in like an H. Like it's a very...
Yeah, no one's taught him how bodies.
It's so weird, but why is it all weird?
I know, and that's why this tweet is so... I'm obsessed with it because this is like a 12-year-old who is going through puberty that wants people to understand that he's totally cool in his body and there's no way that he's doing things wrong and that it's so among every other thing that he is doing that has such a larger, sweeping, grandiose, terrible effect on humanity. This is an insecure, petulant child that is obsessed with adults knowing that he can walk down a ramp when, to be fair, this is not an athlete. He might not be able to do it, and he can't do it. Yeah. But the fact that he's obsessed with seeming strong, seeming physically capable, and he's just not.
No, it's very.
He's just not.
And also, I mean, there's something to be said for
Sorry, I'm obsessed with it. I'm just
you're fine. I think it's fun. It's funny to see you get fired up. It's because you almost tipped over into pure rage there for a second. So I was like, ooh.
Dial it down.
Yeah. I love the last thing, I was going to do was fall for the fake news to have fun with. Now, I personally think it's very funny how much Donald Trump thinks that all news is fake news, except for one particular news outlet. Mm-hmm. What are the odds of that? But it's interesting because, his support, his base, hates fake news. They don't watch CNN. They don't watch the people that they think are fake news. But yet, he speaks to his base about them in such a way that's going, they're going to look up that video and they're going to see the fake news sources. So it's like he didn't need to do it.
I know.
He didn't need to say that.
That's what I'm obsessed with. The fact that he's replaying in his head that he can be physically, sound and capable. And the fact that he's obsessed with his inability is such an insecure, regardless of his status as the president of the free world, he is a child. He's stuck in this prepubescent idea of being made fun of because he physically wasn't chosen for the varsity team. It is so overwhelmingly this to me is this is like a teenager tweeting right now. This is a teenager tweeting I could have won the soccer game, and you guys know that I could have won the soccer game, but I decided not to. I didn't make the goal because I decided
I also think it's worth noting though that we
are
fascinated by this. Not saying this is the highlight or what people should be focusing on in their lives right now.
No. We came here to have fun.
Or in relation to Trump, but I do think though, this
is the dumbest fucking shit I've ever seen. That's what I'm about to tweet. This is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen.
But there is I want to know. Okay, this is an insane person. That's an insane person.
Sad.
Okay? But I want to meet the person who read that tweet and was like, I was gonna make fun of Trump for walking down the ramp weird, but now that he explained himself, I kind of see where he's coming from. I want to meet that person. I want to meet the target of this tweet that actually changed their mind because obviously the people are going to make fun of him.
It's his dad. It's his dad. He's got this. He's never been loved by his father, and he's obsessively trying to be loved by a father figure. And this is him explaining to a predetermined father figure that's already going to make fun of him for not being as capable as the other boys, that he's already explaining like this. I'm still good. It's so obviously like you're bad. You're a bad boy. It's
also interesting. Like, if you're going down a ramp, right, and you can't go down the ramp good, like, don't.
Also, you're going down the ramp. Gravity's on your side. Gravity's working for you. Right. Gravity's helping you down there.
Best case scenario, like, kind of make a little. This is a crazy idea, but if Donald Trump was like, "Hey, could I do possibly anything to have good PR in the eyes of people who don't like me?" I would say maybe next time you're falling down a ramp, maybe have a modicum of like a sense of humor about it, or some kind of winking at how silly it is, and he tripped, it's whatever. The guy can't even make fun of himself.
No, he has no ability to.
What position does that put the rest of the country in, other than to go, we now have to make fun of you for everything?
Yeah, you
because that's what you do with people who can't make fun of themselves.
Oh, it is just so draining and fascinating.
Momentum.
Like, yeah, this felt like the least emotionally, the problematic thing to address from him and his behavior. And it just is in line with everything that I'm like, this is stupid.
This is very stupid.
You're a sad little boy that's never been loved, and you desperately want people to think you're good at everything.
Oh man, that story about Melania with the prenup.
Melania changed her prenup before moving into the White House.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's almost like it's all right there.
He's never been loved. He'll never be loved.
But all those shots of Melania not just jerking her hand away when he tries to hold. It's wild. It's actually, it is pathetic. It's pathetic at a time.
Sad.
But when we talk about these things, it's worth noting, because we've been having very, again, in-depth, masturbatory, occasionally conversations about things, getting real into the weeds, and it's wonderful. It's been a wonderful conversing time with you, milady. But one of the things, Melania. Oh gosh, no, baby. One of the things that we've been talking about is how language itself can serve two purposes, and people are saying, when they say one thing, they're saying that, but maybe they're saying another thing, and they're putting a little on it, and we know it. We're like having different types of meta conversations. This conversation we're having right now, I think, is serving as our way of actually venting about more than this particular tweet. So
sure.
we're laser focusing in on it as a way of being like,
this is my safe in to talk about how much I'm incredibly disappointed and upset with this human being. Like, there are very, very intense things that this person is doing that is truly damaging a lot of people's lives and the world at large. This is my small in to be like, he can't even get over the fact that people might make fun of his physicality. He's obsessively trying to be like a superhero, and he's just a fucking dorky wimp, and he'll never be that, and he's obsessed with it. And I'm fascinated with his insecure obsession with wanting to be a strong man when he's just a petulant, weak little boy. And that's that. We've also been watching Queer Eye.
I'm going to engrave that on your tombstone years from now.
But
that was very good,
we
man.
get very obsessed with this, and then we have to give ourselves a moment to enjoy the beautiful, fun things in life that this podcast was started upon. One of which is...
And I'm just staring at the tweets.
I know. Look, this is all I did earlier.
Momentum.
Oh, you're a dork. What a fucking dork.
He's the good news is, though,
you know how on American Gladiators there's always like the HR person that gets to come and run the obstacle course, and you're like, they're not going to do a good job, but they think that they like took a CrossFit class once and that they're going to be so great at it.
You think Donald Trump took a CrossFit class once?
Can you imagine? That'd be so great. Oh God. Anyway, we need to pivot. Because
we do need to pivot, but you have to get that away from the screen.
Oh yeah. I'll get this. I'll get it.
And also, though, to bear in mind with him, you have to get ready because November is coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know reminder. I got no anticipatory thing of thinking that we're not going to have anything other than this for the next 4 years.
So major reminder right now to check your voter registration status. There are
and take a deep breath too.
Take a deep breath. Also, look at all of your voting deadlines. Understand exactly when your local and other elections are happening in your state. Check your status. Because I've heard from a lot of people that, you think you're registered. One, you might not be, or two, you might be registered in a different address or an old address. And so it is super, super worth taking 30 seconds, just checking your voter registration status and getting everything set.
Just do it now because you know what? Momentum.
What I was going to talk about how we have started flirting with Married at First Sight Australia.
Oh, baby. Oh, boy.
We've teased this out before because it was teased that Married at First Sight, the Australian franchise, was coming to America, and it has begun, and I believe we're 5 or 6 episodes in, and wow, what a ride. Or to say it in Australian, what a ride.
That was pretty good.
That's terrible.
No, it wasn't good.
No, I can't do an Australian. It's the hardest accent for me to even attempt to do. There's such weird mouth moving of all of it that makes no sense to me. But it's been very fun to watch because, one, this whole franchise, hopefully some of you have seen it by now, it moves so quickly, which is... It answers a lot of the problems that we had about the American version of constantly teasing out like one dramatic clip and spending 2 hours to get to it, But this moves almost too quickly now.
It moves too quickly, and I feel like I've heard things, and maybe y'all can help us out here, but I feel like I remember hearing that this show was particularly produced and particularly scripted. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I think I've heard that, and I maybe didn't, and I might be making it up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard it.
There's a question around also how big of a franchise this is in Australia, to the point that like the same way The Bachelor is in the States, where people like prime themselves to be cast on this show.
Interesting. Yeah.
That I wonder if this is a much more popular franchise in Australia, so people are primed and particularly ready to be on this show.
Yeah, and
because it does seem like everyone, all extremely attractive and very articulate and well-spoken and just generally and genuinely interesting people.
Very Australian,
but also everyone seems extremely interesting and is able to talk on camera in a way that seems like they've been media trained.
They talk in sound bites very well.
But it doesn't
very
even
produced.
It takes a second to realize how well spoken they are, because when you think back about the American versions and you think about like Austin being like, it's really good, and I don't say love, I don't have a timeline on when I say love, and and this, they're just like, I don't know, like we're super attracted to each other, and it's ripe and ready to go, and here we go. So I'm really desperately
I'm not turned on by the Australian accent.
Thank God, because I can't do
it. And also this show, it's kind of, okay, just for a fun experiment, y'all should check out the American version of Married at First Sight.
If you haven't already.
And then check out the Australian version, because in addition to the Australian version being more quicker, it's also... the budget is so much better. The American version was filmed on a camcorder. I didn't know that it was a completely better show.
Things aren't lit to the nth degree in every single room that they're in. You can't feel the amount of taped up lights on them. But they're also going on honeymoons to Singapore, to the Australian coast.
You can tell that the budget isn't just wine and beer.
No, they're not.
They're having actual drinks.
They're not all sharing one room at a Marriott in
a Marriott where they get married in front of a fountain that's not on.
I know.
That's crazy.
All of their weddings are literally Pinterest-looking weddings on the Australian version, that they're in a field in this beautiful Victorian-looking location. They're beautiful looking weddings.
Do you remember the fountain that wasn't on?
For all of them, yeah. By the third wedding that you see that it's not on, you really see the metaphor loud. The symbolism can't help itself.
Well, and so I don't know the names of these people, but I will say that I can tell you that every guy of every couple is the same person.
They all have the same haircut.
The same exact haircut, same exact kind of features, same accent, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then there is a lesbian couple, which we have not seen on the American version, but
they're hot and cold. Well, it started off with, they found out at the wedding ceremony that the one woman had just recently ended it with an ex to pursue being on this show, which was a red flag to the other woman's bridesmaids that were like, wait a minute, you had an opportunity to get back with your ex and you decided to go on this show because you thought that was a better idea. And that's a red flag. I'm like, are you a person that's chasing this entertainment side of this, or did you just need a reason to end it with your ex, and this is a very aggressive reason to end it with them? And then the woman who's I wish I knew their names, whose bridesmaids like took up for her and were curious about the new wife on the honeymoon. She suddenly is like, I know I was acting a certain way at the wedding, and they were very hot and heavy and like talked through things and made out there. And now she's not attracted to this woman.
And as a result, she went and meditated by herself.
She went and meditated
in her hotel room and then disappeared for hours on end.
Well,
and then the girl had to confront her and go, "Are you not attracted to me?
Are you not even going to try?"
That's just British.
Well, it's interesting because my first impression of all these paired couples was, oh, the Australian version's doing a great job. They all seem pretty compatible. And then we get to the honeymoons, and all of a sudden, shit's hitting every fan that's available.
Yeah, it's just pure dust. It went.
Everyone's just casually like, I don't think this is right. That we're opposites, and I don't like this.
My favorite exchange was between. There's this. One of the girls has a bunch of tattoos, and they're all kind of weirdly like jacked. And
yeah, they're all very strong, which also leads into the idea that they're all built to be on reality TV.
Totally. And she was saying like, I got into bodybuilding because I used to be a drug addict for a really long time, and whatever. They didn't go into that.
You're getting Irish too.
Yeah, whatever. I'll take all of them. And so the guy's like, "It's not a big deal. Like, your past is your past. I'm not gonna let that bother me."
I didn't marry you from 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, if 5 years ago for me, that's a different person. I totally get that. I respect that. Beautiful exchange, whatever. And then all of a sudden, though, the next day they don't have cameras around, unlike the American version where they film them constantly.
Right.
And they basically relay a story about him being like, "I make $25 an hour being a truck driver, but I'm happy doing that." And then her response was, $25 an hour, that's not going to cut it. And she basically was like, because of my drug addiction, was poor for a while, and therefore I'm very sensitive about about how much money some dude is making.
Right.
This guy, I think, I'm curious what you think about this, Grace. I thought he was rightfully justified at the beginning. I think it's a rude thing to say. I think it's something to clear up. I think it's something you should hit head on. Even in hitting it head on, she got very upset. She didn't even like the fact that he brought it up, which I think is a point to him. But I also think that he obsessed over it a little bit and couldn't get over it because it sounds like they're both getting drunk and they're both wilding out.
Well, the strange thing that we don't have full context to is that they talk about a conversation, and the way they talk about it was like, last night at the end of the night, she made an offhanded comment that she thought was being funny, but it really actually rubbed me the wrong way. The subtext of that is we were drunk as shit, and, she made a off-color comment that when I sobered up rubbed me actually the wrong way.
I was still mad, basically.
I'm still mad, and then when he brings it up to her, she, tries to quickly acknowledge it, but then they get drunk and have another conversation, and she forgets that she even said that.
It's an anti-drinking ad, similar to how the American version is.
Yeah.
Long, like, this seems unnecessary.
Well, they also, they allude to conversations that happen off camera so quickly that you have to kind of like catch up on context of what they're saying, especially because they don't have it on camera to show you what happened. And then they basically... he gets upset with her for smoking.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have a huge falling out. Like, their dinner basically devolves into drunk people having nitpicky things about them.
And she had the whole, she's like, I've only smoked 3 cigarettes. I only smoked this. I only smoked that.
Well, she's very strong in her convictions about things. And with that is, like, very strong in saying, that one, the joke about him making a certain amount of money is just a joke, but then the reality is because she's had a certain past, that is real for her.
Yeah, also,
so it's a very confusing way to present, I'm just kidding, but it's also extremely real for me. And so he's having a hard time being like, we barely know each other, and is this real or is this?
Yeah, they're a little insane,
yeah.
But I do think like it's one thing if you're starting out dating and you're like, I don't want to date a smoker. Like that's gross. It grosses me out. I don't want to be with someone who's doing that. It's very fair, I think, to be like, that's a boundary. That's the thing I got. I do, however, think that if someone is telling you that they used to be a drug addict or they are a recovering drug addict, whatever the terminology is, they're going to probably smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Like there should be a little bit of leeway for if you find out somebody is
there's also
a drug addict that they're probably going to smoke cigarettes. Don't be shocked by that.
Yeah, the fascinating shock of this whole situation is not only are they being married at first sight, this is now his wife, she's exposing this extremely heavy history that she has and asking this relative stranger to trust that she is completely rehabilitated and everything's fine. That's so much to ask of someone. One, you've asked this person to be your husband by being part of this experiment. And then two, you are now asking him to trust someone that he's known for a couple days that they are completely rehabilitated and that it's not a problem. And then in that same breath, within a few hours, you make an offhanded comment that hurts his ego and identity as like a hardworking person.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the fragile wanting to be supportive of someone overcoming a hardship in their life mixed with like the cutting down of someone who's actually tried to build themselves up is a hard pill to swallow. I mean, pun intended.
What are your predictions? You think they're gonna make it, or?
Well, based on
are we gonna make it through the season?
I don't know, because based on after that conversation, it was the best line that we have heard in reality television. That was something along the lines of, "If you gave me a ticket to the airport right now, I'd walk there till my feet bled." Is what he said after that dinner conversation with her, which is bonkers.
It's incredible.
It's wonderful. It made me love the whole franchise and think, here we go.
Because in the middle of an empty restaurant, saying
it's great.
That, like fully lit.
It's great, and I love the pace in which they're showing us everything that's happening. However, I will say it's now a little too quick. I wish that they would like slow down for a second, because
so fast. It's done immediately, and
fast.
They're not showing us many of the real moments.
I know. I feel like there's a happy medium between the way the American version is and the Australian version. And the other thing is, after we got to this honeymoon phase of these first like 5 couples, they started a new episode where they're marrying 2 more couples.
What is that?
There's so many couples being married at first sight. Australia, you got it good, and now you're doing it way too much.
There's a very basic storytelling structure that you can follow, where you don't start over at the beginning with new couples out of nowhere after you're already in the drama with the other couples. That's crazy.
It's like when a child gets praised for telling a joke, and then they just tell that joke over and over and over again, and you're like, all right, it's no longer cute. You gotta get a new bit.
That was great, because we were like, oh, we got 2 episodes. Oh, this is going to be wonderful, back to back. And then we started, and it's like the whole season starting over again. Yeah. And we're like, all right, we're out.
I'm invested in where these guys are at in their honeymoon, and now you're asking me to start over with new people, which I will eventually watch. But it was just like, no, I'm on this journey with them. I want to see if he walks to the airport till his feet bleed.
I bet he will.
Oh,
and then there's the other one, the guy who's just like really obsessive over his wife's like being active, and him like taking the lead on like snowboarding and rock climbing.
That he thinks that she's just like a prissy princess
and
type.
She's done, like, from my vantage point, she hasn't done anything wrong or
she's
bad
like
at all.
rock climbing with him, and she goes skiing and learns how to ski even though she doesn't know how to, and then he's like really good at it, and he keeps saying that like he's afraid that they're just opposites, that she only cares about superficial things.
He's creating a reality.
But that's the thing, is they're not showing us so much. They're only telling us, and I want them to show us more.
I tell you guys, what are we doing?
Okay, nothing. We have complaints about everything. Give us something great. We'll tell you what's wrong with it. That's where we're at.
We started watching also Survivor Millennials versus Gen X.
Mm-hmm. We got 10 minutes into the first episode, and then we got into a very deep philosophical conversation about language.
That's exactly
so we got sidetracked, but that is the next one that we're watching.
Mari's on it, and Mari is a guest on the Valleycast probably late last year. I don't remember.
Mari is a Smosh person, and she's on this season, which is very exciting.
With Zeke,
who we love very much, and it's very strange. It makes it more intimate, like that there's, someone that you actually know in the real world that's on this.
Totally. It's crazy. And then also there's a slight bit of just jealousy where I'm like, I want her to tell me
She's
everything.
met Jeff Probst.
Yeah, she got to do the little thing with the balls where you kind of put it in the holes and you got to.
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. We got to see how it unfolds.
I can only assume she did it. But yeah, so that's all wonderful. But we also, guys, we watched the episode of season of Survivor with Ben. Where Ben
we watched Healers versus Hustlers versus Heroes.
Right, and I don't know if we've talked about it too much, but oh my goodness, that was a wonderful time.
Yeah, so we went back. We had been avoiding that because we watched Winners at War, and we knew that Ben was a winner from that season, so we didn't want to watch it because we knew what the final outcome was. But then we had nothing to watch, so we invested in it, and it was so great.
Such a great season of TV. I think I'm slowly...
Ben was... and I there's part of me, like everyone has told us, I wish that we had watched that before we watched Winners at War, because his relationship with Sarah and saying like, you need this on your resume, vote me out, tugs at the heartstrings retroactively.
Ben was he was gonna, he had to win it.
He was so good. He killed it. And when he let that woman believe, Chrissy, or I think was her name, I forget, believe that he found a fake idol, or that she found an idol,
and he's just
and it was
out.
fake, and he was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let you have, and she's like wearing it, saying like she found it at their reward thing. Ooh, we're talking in a lot of like weird, it's impossible to follow unless you've seen this season.
Even I don't really know what you're talking about, but
when she's laying on the bed after they had like an award dinner or something, and she said she pulls out the idol to show it to him, and it's completely fake, and he knows because he found the real one, but he plays along with it, and he's like,
they tried to convince him that the idol had been found, so it and look for it. The game is perfect.
He's so good.
I think I'm finally converting Joe and Steve to start watching it. I just don't know what season to like tell them to.
I have no idea. There's
David versus Goliath was really good.
David versus Goliath was a really great like first ones to watch for us, but I do wish that we had gone back and started. I
know we knew what we were doing. We knew the mess we were getting in, and now we made our
bed. We did this to ourselves.
We did it to ourselves, and we made our bed. We had to sleep in it, whatever you want to say. Momentum. So is that it? What else? Have we been?
That's. I mean,
unless you guys want a full dissertation on like what we've been doing, but we got some exciting stuff that is going on under the behind the scenes.
We're making some lifestyle choices and some things going on that are very exciting. Thank you for letting me vent about the President of the United States and his dumb tweets. I had to get it out.
But how much better though that he does tweet stuff like that is, so like,
because you have this inkling,
like,
you have
quiet and elegant,
exactly,
like,
you have this inkling that he is like a spoiled, stubborn, insecure little boy, and then he tweets things like that, and it confirms all of it for you, and you go, great.
It's
all
also,
I need to see.
It's crazy, that there's no I know I was talking about this with some friends, it was on the Fundamentalists. Pete and I were talking about these actions being like, for me, I struggle with it because I'm like, give me something to be able to defend here in my like liberal LA bubble that has some modicum.
Give me some devil's advocate.
Yeah, give me something where I go, oh great.
No, nothing.
No, absolutely nothing.
Not even a whisper. No.
And that's kind of like, okay, freeing, but as someone who likes to make jokes about both sides of the political spectrum,
you get nothing.
You gotta give me something.
You get nothing. I can't walk downstairs. Here you go. Deal with that.
Do you want some ecstasy?
Wonderful. Some Smarties. Sweet tarts.
They're sweet tarts.
They're sweet tarts. Sorry.
Momentum,
which is what we will gather back up as we continue to podcast. Now we took a couple weeks off, and we broke our seal and we came back a little bit.
You feel good? You feel okay?
I feel fine.
I think folks right now will enjoy a nice reprieve of just rambling and venting. Yeah. I think we did a good.
Also, let us know, as always, what you guys are watching currently that is a little bit more fluff. We're watching all the heavy stuff, but we would like some recommendations on stuff that reprieves our brains a little bit.
Yeah, as long as it's not, fluff. All fluff. Give us fluff.
I got it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.